Fuck me. It's finally here. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have been waiting for this ever since they released that bloody tech demo on the PS3 back in 2005. That was 15 years ago. 15 years. Look at me. Look at me 15 years ago. Look at me there, 15 years. Does that look like the face of a boy who thought he was going to have to wait 15 years to see a remake of one of his absolute favourite games of all time? Does it? I did my waiting! 15 years of it in Azkaban! But yes, after all those years of doubt, scepticism, delays, and just generally thinking it would never happen, it is finally in my grubby little mitts. Honestly, I am so happy right now. I have been playing this game solidly since Thursday, and fuck me, what a trip it has been. I'm actually only halfway through the story currently. I haven't managed to get all the way through it, so I've still got like a little bit to go. But I just thought it'd be quite cool to like kind of touch base and kind of do a little first impressions video just based on what I've seen of the game so far. I may touch on some of like the newer features in the game, but in general I will try and keep this video as spoiler free as possible, just because I think if you are a fan of the game, it is just a much better experience to go in as blind as you can without knowing too much, because you will enjoy it so much more. As well, that goes for if you've never played the game before and don't know the story at all. It really is just better just going in with no knowledge of it, really, because that's how I've gone into it, and so far. Okay, let's begin.
So, the first thing I'm going to say about the game is that Square have done such a great job to make players of the OG game feel like they are returning home. When I turned on the game and was welcomed by that picture of Cloud's Buster Sword sitting there alone, surrounded by Black Shadow, I got so many goosebumps. It instantly filled me with so much nostalgia, I thought I might burst.
And then, that opening cinematic. Oh god, that opening cinematic.
I was a little surprised at first when I hit new game and was greeted by something a little different, but I didn't hate it. And I mean, what an opportunity for Square to show off the world they had originally visioned. Then, it starts. We get that familiar look from Aerith in the alleyway as she then runs onto the bleak streets of Midgar. Then, that beautiful pan out across the city as we see Midgar in all its glory. By the time we got to that main title of the game, I was almost in tears. It was mad.
This is exactly what I was hoping for. Familiarity, but also a more fleshed out version of the game we know and love so much. It were bloody gorgeous. Also, want to put a little side note here. I'm not actually going to show off any of the soundtrack from the remake in this video, simply because the way they have worked in the original soundtrack into the game is so bloody genius.
And also the way they have mixed a few songs together, I mean, it's all absolutely fantastic. For example, just in the opening cinematic alone, they subtly foreshadow the presence of a certain character, just with a few changes in music. And I just think that is bloody magic.
I really think you need to experience it for yourself firsthand, just so you can experience it exactly the way I did. But anyway...
After all that, you are thrown straight into combat, and from there, wow. It is just pure, lovely, chaotic
Final Fantasy fighting fun. The combat system they have worked into this game is so bloody glorious, and it might actually be now one of my favourite combat systems of all time in any video game. Great hack and slash styling, but with a delicious tactical edge.
For as you spam the square button to attack enemies, you quickly build up your ATB bar, which once a segment is full, allows you to slow down the fight by hitting X, and then you can use those chunks of your ATB bar to cast spells with your equip materia and also use special moves learned from your weapons. This slowing down of the battle allows you to carefully strategize and plan your course of action when taking on enemies, but having to charge up the ATB gauge by engaging in fast-paced action combat really gives a nice balance to the whole thing, even down to the point where the only way you can use items and healing spells is by putting yourself in danger to charge up the ATB gauge and use them. It really makes every choice you make in battle count, because if you focus too much on the offensive, you will most likely get wiped out pretty quick, especially against bosses with changing attack patterns. Throw in the ability to switch between up to 3 party members, all with unique fighting styles and abilities, and you have some fantastically fun fights ahead of you. It really is great stuff and simply makes me wee myself with excitement.
But Rhys, I hear you cry. Great combat, blah blah blah, but how's that story? Well, my beautiful audience, I shall tell thee in 3 words.
Oh my god.
Seriously though, Square have done an amazing job at sticking to story beats from the original game, but also expanding on them. All the characters are now so much more fleshed out, especially Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, who were only minor characters in the original game. This brings so much more weight when you know exactly the fates of each individual character and what's in store for everybody as an ensemble. I'm honestly really quite jealous of people playing this for the first time not having played the original.
They have also done some great work to make it not only great for lovers of the original game, but also it's so accessible for newcomers, especially if they are fans of Final Fantasy or JRPGs in general.
But with that, the details and little Easter eggs they have added for returning players is absolutely top notch. For example, early on there's this small exchange you can have with 2 random guards in the slums in Midgar. It's the tiniest thing, and in both games you can go straight past it and never even know about it. But the fact they put in these little touches like this, it only makes me so much more happier with it.
There is one tiny gripe I have with the story.
Basically, a certain unnamed character is introduced into the game very early on, which for me felt like a lot of mystery was lost surrounding them, especially when in the original you don't even see the character until after you leave Midgar, which from what I've heard is where this game leaves off. Now, I know fanservice is a huge thing, but for me, I just feel they missed the trick with leaving it at least a little later on in the story to build up that intrigue. I get the flashbacks are important to the story and they should definitely be left in, but I think they could have been a bit more subtle and maybe not showed off so much. Most of you will probably be able to guess who it is, but I thought I'd try my best to keep it spoiler free. Also, like I said, this is just a nitpick at this point because I don't want to be too gushy. It wasn't enough for me to hate the game. I mean, heck, it wasn't even enough for me to dislike it. Just a tiny annoyance. Like a fly in your eye.
But Rhys, I hear you bellow. What about all the side quests?
Well, they are here too, but this is where I can see some people being a little turned off. You see, side quests can be accessed, but only at certain parts of the story, and will be locked off during main story segments. The side quests themselves are okay. They're nothing incredibly special. It's usually your basic go to this place and kill this/these monsters, or this little girl has lost her cats, can you find them? But honestly, as much of a minor slog some of them can be, I'd still say they are very much worth doing, just for the extra character development and world building you get from it. Plus, the rewards are pretty great too. For example, there's this one Shinra kid called Chadley who, in return for various research tasks you can do during battles throughout the game, will reward you with rare and powerful materia you can't get anywhere else. He will also create you summon materia if you do his optional VR training boss battles, which are definitely worth it. As I said, I can see why some would call this padding or dismiss the side quests as being a little mundane, but personally, I really enjoyed them, and for the extra world building and equipment you can get from them, they are really not that taxing to complete.
But Rhys! I hear you howl. What about the summary? I'm about to do the bloody summary if you just shut up! Christ!
All in all, I am totally in love with what Square have done here. Everything from seeing familiar looking monsters and boss fights to expanding plot points and extra missions, even with some of the brand new elements like collecting music discs and meeting brand new characters. Although I will never forget the original, and it will always have a huge place in my heart. I can honestly say that waiting all those years for this remake, to me, was absolutely worth it, and I am so happy that this wonderful story has been brought into modern day standards so that new generations can experience it firsthand. Hopefully, they will feel the same way that we all felt when we first joined Cloud and the gang all those years ago.
And that's it! Thank you so much for watching the video today. You are a bloody beauty, and I'd like to give you some of my Easter egg. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see a little bit more content from me, then please hit the subscribe button and ring that little notification bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. So you can stay updated with all of the crazy stuff I pump out into the unknown voids of YouTube. And have yourself a bloody lovely day. Goodbye, my love!